Hello everyone, I'm Chris Cappy. Welcome to another episode of Task in History. Today we're going to learn about the USS Constitution, which was launched in 1797. And to this day, it still exists even after all the battles she's been through. That's right, the USS Constitution is still commissioned in the 21st century. It's actually the only frigate still left in the US Navy. This frigate famously dueled with a Royal Navy ship during the War of 1812. And we'll find out in this video who won and how they won that battle. Today's episode is brought to you by Warfighter Hemp. Warfighter Hemp is a veteran-owned business founded in Colorado that produces CBD products from locally sourced and 100% organic hemp. Their mission is to improve the lives of veterans and first responders. During this time, they launched the Buy One, Give One program to get their CDC-grade antiseptic sanitizer gel into the hands of the first responders who need it most. For every bottle of hand sanitizer sold, they send one out to the front lines. So far, they've provided sanitizer to police departments in Boulder, Chicago, Dallas-Fort Worth, as well as fire departments in Irving, Texas, and New York City. Be sure to click the link in the description below to help support their cause. You can also use code TASK on your first CBD order for 50% off. Now, let's talk about this incredible true nautical story. The USS Constitution, also known by its nickname Old Ironsides, is the world's oldest commissioned naval vessel still afloat. She first hit the waters in 1797 and still looks amazing to this day, if only I could maintain the perfect bod that she does. The Constitution's most famous close quarters engagement took place during the War of 1812. On June 18, 1812, the United States declared war on Britain. We were feeling pretty confident about our win in the Revolutionary War, and we were looking forward to round two. At the time, the Royal Navy had 85 vessels in American waters. The US Navy was grossly outnumbered with only 22 commissioned vessels in the water. The battle took place 400 miles southeast of Halifax, Nova Scotia. The British HMS Guerriere detached from a squadron that was hunting the USS Constitution. It was headed to Halifax to refit. On its way there, on August 19th at 2 p.m., the captain of the USS Constitution, Isaac Hull, noticed the HMS Guerriere leeward. Wait, leeward direction is downwind. The two ships recognized each other and the battle began. Let's take a second here to learn about the armament of the USS Constitution. Old Ironsides was filled to the brim with guns. The ship was built as a 44-gun frigate, and it would typically carry 54 cannons. Her loadout consisted of 24 32-pound carronades on the spar deck. A carronade was a smoothbore short cannon, and this gun loaded a smaller gunpowder charge than was typically used, which reduced the barrel heating and reduced recoil. It simplified the maintenance and operation of the gun, and this was useful for the relatively untrained seamen of the time. It was a huge reason for using the weapon, even though it was more expensive than traditional cannons. In the age of sailing ships, the long 18-pound chase gun was placed in the stern and bow of the ship. A chase gun was used to slow down the chase of an enemy vessel. They would aim for the rigging and sails. These standoffs between ships at the time was a precision dance. The chase would last between several hours and days. The chase gun was made out of brass instead of iron, so they would be more accurate, because of how important a well-placed shot at the sails would be. It would completely immobilize the enemy. On Old Ironsides, they had 2 chase guns at the stern and 2 at the bow. There were 30 24-pound long guns on the deck. While these weapons weren't built for long-range attacks, they were perfect for close-quarter engagements once the chase was over and the ships were brought in for the final attack. The USS Constitution was outfitted with almost 2 feet of solid oak, live oak, and fir to construct the walls, which would defend the crews from incoming fire. Wood wasn't the only thing used to build the ship. More than 120,000 pounds of hemp was used in its construction. Nearly 55 tons of hemp fiber would be needed for the lines and rigging, with even more being used for the canvas sails and caulking for the wooden hull. This ship is massive. It was so heavy that it was almost impossible to get it into the water. Alright, so now let's get back to the battle. The Constitution closed in and the Guerriere began firing. Poorly. Most of the shots missed, and the ones that did hit harmlessly bounced off the side. And this made one of the crew members yell out, "Huzzah! Her sides are made of iron." This is historically the single best use of the word huzzah, and it's where the ship gets its nickname from. While the Constitution and the Guerriere were both frigates, the Constitution carried more guns of a larger caliber, and it had stronger scatlings. The Constitution also had the advantage of 208 additional crewmen compared to the British vessel. Some cannon rounds from the Guerriere embedded in the hull, but they failed to break through. American oak is apparently as strong as our freedom. As the range between the two ships decreased, they began exchanging broadside at 100 yards. Thanks to old Ironsides, larger guns, and thicker hull, they had the advantage, even if the British ship was larger. After 15 minutes, the Guerriere had suffered far more damage than the Constitution. The two ships were so close that they were locked together, circling clockwise around each other. The boarding party was called for, and this is a group of sailors that are tasked with the dangerous and violent job of raiding the enemy ship. They normally would have to cross from their ship onto the enemy vessel and force a surrender. After some close musket fire between the two ships, which wounded and killed some of the USS Constitution's crew, they were unable to board each other's ships because of the intense motion of the sea. The HMS Guerriere signaled that they wanted to surrender at this point by firing a cannon in the opposite direction of the battle. The cost of the battle for the USS Constitution was 7 killed and 7 wounded. For the HMS Guerriere, they suffered 15 killed and 78 wounded. Captain Hull of the Constitution refused to accept Captain Dacquer's sword of surrender from the Guerriere. He stated that he could not accept the sword from a man who fought so gallantly. Don't worry though, he didn't go full pirate on them and make them walk the plank or anything. Captain Hull took the entire crew aboard as prisoners. The effect of the battle on American morale and patriotism was immeasurable. The American land campaign against Canada had been unsuccessful, which had resulted in a loss of public support for the war. After the battle, the American public became galvanized by the pride in defeating the Royal Navy in a fair fight. The USS Constitution took part in several major battles and wars, including the First Barbary War in 1801, the Battle of Tripoli Harbor in 1804, the War of 1812 in, you guessed it, 1812. For the next 100 years, the USS Constitution took part in non-combat operations in the Mediterranean Sea, as well as during the US Civil War. In 1900, Congress authorized restoration of the ship so that it could be turned into a museum in Massachusetts, where it is to this day. If you'd like to go check it out, the USS Constitution is still there and it's entirely crewed by active duty US Navy personnel. Hemp played a big role in the early success of the USS Constitution. Today, hemp is making a comeback in the military community with CBD. Veteran-owned businesses like Warfighter Hemp are putting the same attention into their CBD products as a supply NCO would inspecting your loadout. All Warfighter Hemp products are third-party tested and the results are published on their website. Each batch of product comes with a certificate of analysis that's available for review. Be sure to check them out and use code TASK for 50% off your first order. I'm Chris Cappy. Thank you for watching. Task and Purpose out.